Hey everyone, welcome to the Winner's Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody.
And we are really excited because it's not often we have someone on the show that we are truly, we're fans of everybody who comes on, but truly going back to what, what we grew up on, having someone that we've been a fan of since day one, the great, the legend, Chris Kattan. Chris, thank you for joining us here on the Winner's Circle. Oh, we
Thanks
can't
for
hear you
having
now.
me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. There we go.
Can. No, yeah, we really do appreciate it. Chris, I don't think you really understand either. It's like growing up and still to this day, I quote Night at the Roxbury more than I quote anything else. And 90% of the lines are your lines. And my girlfriend just was like, where does this come from? I'm like, you just don't get it. Then you were on Celebrity Big Brother. And I was like, that's the guy. I'm like, that's what I'm always quoting. Chris Kattan, Doug Butabi.
Right. Well, that's very sweet of you to say. Are you guys still together? You and your girlfriend?
Yeah. Unfortunately for her, we are.
Okay, good.
So listen, it's interesting how worlds collide because you probably don't know this, but Cody and I were on Big Brother. We were both on the same season together at one point. I won that season. Cody came in second, and then Cody came back for All Stars Big Brother, and he won All Stars. So
okay.
Yeah. So we've been on the show a few times, so we definitely have a personal understanding of what you've gone through, And so we want to definitely talk some Big Brother, but we also want to talk about you, your career, because that's something we're not familiar with. That's something I think that everyone wants to hear more about because they hear about Big Brother from us all the time. So we'll talk a little Big Brother, and then we'll get into some other fun stuff.
Okay, cool.
So
great.
We were really excited when they announced the cast and we saw you again because we knew who you were. We were a fan of yours. And we were really interested to talk to you because Chris Kattan, Night at the Roxbury, Corky Romano, you've done a lot of movies, SNL. I mean, you've done it. And, I didn't picture you as a Big Brother, viewer or a fan. So what was it? How did Big Brother approach you to come on the show? And what ultimately was your rationale behind deciding to go? What made you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go on the show and give it a shot.
Well, I saw, I've never seen the season. I haven't seen Big Brother at all until like I saw Celebrity Big Brother season 2. Yeah, the one with Tom Green.
Yes.
And that was the only one I saw. And I only saw that, and I never saw Big Brother before that because I was like, that's a situation I would never want to be in.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. And then I watched Celebrity Big Brother, and I was like, and then they offer it, and I was like, oh well, maybe if I have fun with it, and come from a different perspective of like, I can have a good time with it and bring out the humor in everybody, and I'm sure everybody's gonna be a good person. I would assume, and just would have a good time, and I uh, spoke to Tom Green, who's a friend too as well, and he had a good time and a good experience. So I was like, why not? It's something I've never experienced before, and I've been in front of the camera 24/7 might be challenging, but I could handle that, I think, And so I was like, yeah, why not? I could definitely do that. I had no like fear or shame or anything about like, oh, I don't want to be seen doing this or, so the 24/7 was fine. I was fine with being every aspect of myself as a person normally or being funny or real or all that stuff. So I was like fine with that. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll give it a shot. And CBS is a great network to work with, and so I was like, and also it was gonna be in 4K, and being in 4K is always fun.
Yeah, that's always a good time.
I mean, so just piggybacking off of that, like you had this idea, you didn't really watch too much of Big Brother. How long into the game did you realize like, okay, this isn't all fun and games. I can't just joke around all day. There's actually a game going on. And was there ever like a stress level that hit you to realize like, uh-oh, I can't just joke around all day. Like there's a game that's happening. I have to actually try to play.
I think when I started the conversation. Well, when I first got there, I was like all about it was I was just having a blast with Carson, and we were
Mm-hmm.
just like throwing stuff off each other constantly, and our banter and our quick wit, and it was so much fun with him. I was like, oh my god, if this is how it's going to be the whole time, this is going to be a fun rush. It'll be like easy breezy and so much fun. And then I think when I started having, I'm not quite sure who it was, but I was having a conversation with someone, and that person started talking about politics for no reason
Yeah.
and racism. And I was like, when this does not sound like a real conversation,
Mm-hmm.
uh, okay, sounds like he's starting an argument or
Mm-hmm.
something. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this doesn't feel natural.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I realized, oh, wait, I remember reading the contract. And there are things like if you say this and if you say that,
Yeah.
you can be held for this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh wow, wait a minute. So I was like, oh God, that's like tricky. And I'm like, I wonder how often people are gonna do that. Are people gonna do that often here? I hope
Mm-hmm.
not. Because I'd rather just have real conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's when I first was like, that's a little bit weird. So I just was that just made me go just remind myself like okay I guess that's what's going to happen every so often.
Right.
Yeah.
um you know
That
but
happens. Trust me.
I'm pretty clear headed, so I was like I was like able to take myself out of the situation and just look at it from above and then get lost in the conversation, go like,
Yes.
oh my god, I just joined in and I said I hate all gay people accidentally or
Yeah.
something like
Right.
you know what I mean, like which is actually obviously not true, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like you
Yes.
could say something like you
You
know
just never know
Yeah.
because when it's
sometimes
on
you feel like you're
24/7.
entrapped or something.
Yeah. People
Yeah,
definitely
exactly,
forget.
like
People definitely forget that there's that live feed. And that's what happens. And I always say to everybody, whoever you really are in the outside world, regardless of how much you try to hide it on Big Brother, you're not gonna be able to. Like you just made an example. Like you're saying a joke, like, "Oh, I hate so and so."
oh no no
Unfortunately,
no I don't mean like yeah exactly, it
you know
is
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
different,
Like
that's
I
if
what.
mean,
you're
Yeah.
but
if you're
yeah,
a good person, you're going to be a good person on the feeds because it's who you are. And you
right,
are
Yeah.
clearly a good person. But if
Yes.
you're someone who has like these
thank you,
preconceived notions about a group or something, more than
right,
likely you're going to get exposed on the feeds, even if you think you can hide it, even if you think you're smarter than
right.
the people watching. It's usually not the case. But you mentioned Carson and you mentioned your connection with him. I know you were also close with Mariah. Was there anybody else who stood out to you where you were either like really drawn to them or, on the other hand, you were like, listen, this person may be a good person on the outside world, but I just don't think we're going to connect in here.
Well, to answer the first question, I think Cynthia was fantastic. I think
Yeah.
she has an amazing heart. She was so loving and endearing. Uh, Mariah and I connected because he was just kind of talking about because well, first of all, we were roommates, and then she was also saying how psychologically this place is a little left up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Totally.
not the healthiest place for the mind.
No.
I was like,
No,
No.
no, self help, like self care, not
Yeah.
the best place.
no.
And so we would like say like, yeah, this is not like, and where so that was our like talk with each other, and so we connected that way. And But I remember Chris Kirkpatrick, even though he was a sweet guy, he would every so often say questions that were like, "Hey, what's your relationship with blah blah blah?" And I was like, "What, dude? Don't.
Yeah.
No, that's like you're looking for a headline. You're
Yeah.
Mhm.
literally asking me for me to say something that's gonna just cause some sort of a headline or more followers or something to say. You know what I mean? Like just like
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
rather stick with the human beings, the humanity. He's obviously a good guy, but like I think he knew how to play the game in the alliance way and knew how to do that kind of a gamemanship, which I clearly did not want to play. That was not
Right.
my way of
Yeah.
playing games.
You
My
wanted to
game
just go and
playing
have
was
a good
like,
time.
yeah, I just want to
Be
have a good time,
likable.
and yeah, I wanted to be myself, and I
Yeah.
wanted to have a good time, and that was really it, and use that as a use Big Brother as a platform to have a good time. I mean, that's what
Mhm.
it is. I mean, that's what as me being a comedian or performer really is doing uh, in general is finding excuses to have a good time. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're
totally.
watching a Sandler movie, I mean, those guys are Sandler's like taking care of his friends and cast members, and they're going on trips and making a great movie and
Yeah.
fun movie, and they're having a good time. I
That's
mean,
it.
that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And life is short. Just let's have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
but when it gets so serious, like, oh my God, there's too much drama in the world already.
Yeah.
mhm.
What are we doing creating drama?
So but when you talk about Chris and anybody in general, you're not saying specifically like personal thing, just saying, hey, I was in there to have fun, talk about life, talk about, what, good things, positive things. And Chris would sometimes, as well as others, come to me and want to talk like game, like, hey, what do you think about so and so? What do you think about this? And you're like, listen, dude,
Right.
I'm not going that route. Whatever you guys decide to do, you want to put me up, put me up.
Sure.
You want to do that. I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody because I know you're probably going to use that against me in your strategy or whatever. So I'm
Well,
keeping it.
also,
I'm keeping it
I'm
simple.
not even that person though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I'm like, the last thing I would do is speak behind someone's back in a negative way because I believe in karma and I believe in like,
Totally.
that'll just come back to me anyway. So like, I just think, and a lot of, I think people's behavior in general, we always go back to high school behavior sometimes,
Yeah.
especially in a place like that. So,
Hopefully
Oh,
that
you're
will
still
and
there,
change.
Chris?
hey, here I am. Do
You're
you
good.
see me, hear
You,
me, touch me,
you wish.
feel
You
me?
wish.
Tommy, Tommy, can you hear me?
See,
What was that about anyway? Tommy the who? Feel me, touch me, hear me.
A
There's
lot.
a lot
Yeah, a
going
lot
on.
going on there.
see, this is the guy that we wanted to see a lot of like
Yeah.
these fun and jokes. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there was people like,
Well, we oh right, yeah. Well, on the show we
yeah,
actually did do that. I mean, there was that a lot. Uh Arch and I were like just every time we were around each other, we're constantly making slight
yeah,
fun of everything. And I mean, he was just hilarious, and he just brought out the humor in me, and we were just like bantering, like, oh my God, we are having
Yeah.
the best time ever. And so it
yeah,
was like that. But there's editing, but Big Brother, I got to tell you, their production is like off the charts. Like they have a time line that they have to get to, and their editing is fast, and
They do their
they
thing.
got
They got
I
a
don't know how many
lot of
people,
people.
yeah,
big ass crew, and yeah, they got a lot to deal with, and it's a big network. I mean, it's a
Yep.
major network show, and so it's a lot to deal with, and you have to realize that, like, and the crew
yeah,
Yeah.
is kick ass. So, um, so they can only pick and
exactly.
choose so many things, and you know what I mean. So I totally makes sense. So they there was a lot of funny stuff. I mean, like for example, like Lamar and Todd were roommates, and they're right next to me in my room with Mariah in the beginning, and they were would stay up late, and they were
Mhm.
so funny. They sounded like I was like, you guys got to
Yeah,
get a podcast or something.
they
You
had a
guys are
great bond.
hilarious. It's like listening to it like an old. Oh my God, they were just so funny together. There was one point where Lamar is so tall, his hands are so long. He just was walking, and he hits Todd in the face, and he goes, "Oh man, you hit my face, man! You don't even know it. You hit my face." He goes, "I didn't hit your face." "Yes, you did. Your head's so big, you didn't even know you hit my face. You hit my face, man.
Dude, Todd,
Stop it with your hands. Your hands so big, you
Dude,
yeah,
hit my face."
Lamar was great. Lamar was
larger than life.
Lamar
Full
was the
on.
gift that kept giving. I think for the show this season, for people like you, people like
Yeah.
Lamar, people who, you know, obviously you guys are known, but to that younger audience, they were getting exposed to you for the first time, a lot of them. And I'm sure you saw, like, they loved you.
Right.
They loved Lamar.
They did.
Like,
They loved you.
it definitely exposed them to a different side of you guys, because we've only seen you, Chris, for the most part on SNL in these movies where we got to just see you. Just Chris Kattan, not necessarily the characters you played, which are completely different from who you are, you know? So I think that's always cool to see you in there and to see you interact with other people just as a human being and not necessarily as the characters that we know you as, you know? And that's cool. I think
I appreciate you saying that too, because that was partly why I also want to do it, because I feel confident as a person. So I was like, you know, I'm not like going to be like, oh my God, my character, I just ran out of steam. What am I going to say now? You know, I'm going to run and hide and I got to think of something funny. You know, I'm like, you know, whatever I say, I'm going to say, and feel, I'm going to feel. Like I feel good about myself, and I live in the moment, in the present, and I'm healthy, and you know, so I'm like, you know, one of those guys. So, but you know, after, you know, obviously a while, it was just getting like, oh my God, this
because
drama.
it doesn't turn off, right? It just doesn't turn off.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's a point where you can't find there's that slight edge between the big brother who you talk to, and then uh the upstairs big brother, which is where is more personal, where you can say like, listen, I want to get in contact with somebody, and you know, you could send a message sometimes. I don't know how it was for you guys, but we could send out a message, but we
we're not celebrities, Chris. We were
get
literally
the special treatment.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Oh, it's a celebrity thing. Okay, got it. Well, celebrity thing is we were allowed to send out a message, email email, through Big Brother, but we were not allowed to receive. But so we couldn't have a conversation. And everybody wanted to know also like who's gonna play the Super Bowl, but we didn't know. Not that that was important to me.
It's a big deal,
really, at all. But to some people it was, or the Oscars, who was going to get nominated, stuff like that. It is a big deal.
Speaking of the Oscars,
we got to ask you about that after this for sure. We definitely got to ask you about.
Oh, okay, sure. We can talk about the Oscars.
Yeah, right. Last question, kind of about Big Brother, and we got a little bit of, you know, how you were having a struggle, your sleeping habits, like the beds. I don't know if they were uncomfortable, and then it got to the point of when you self-evicted, and so we wanted to touch on that a little bit to just see what got you to that point. Was it the conditions in the house? Was it the conditions plus the game? Like what got you to your breaking point?
Well, I do want to say that the sleeping, first of all, was Todd would not stop snoring. It was like, and I think I described it on the show, and they said it, that I was like, it sounded like a T-Rex dinosaur, and someone was putting some sort of a toilet plunger through his throat back and forth.
That's a visual.
And then we have the sound to go along with it.
And it would not stop. And then Mariah was like, don't wake him. I'm like, I gotta tell him to be quiet, because I can't stand this. I can't sleep at all. She's like, no, he'll get really mad. Like, I don't think he'll get mad. And then he got really mad.
I could see Todd get
when I woke up, I said, be quiet, be quiet. I'm like, you're making so much, you know, loud. So there was that. And then also I started just kind of like, where's my zone to chill and like not have to engage in conversation about something like an alliance situation, and not have to be whatever. Just where's my zen place or place to chill, and that was basically under the covers in my bed. That's what I found it to be. You know, like, where can I, like, you know, just not. And of course, when you're sleeping, you're still being seen sleeping, which is not a problem. But like, you just want to go chill out somewhere, and you can't. You can go to the toilet if you know. But I have a good digestive system, so I wasn't.
The funny thing is, somebody on my second season, his escape was he would go to the bathroom, but he would just sit on the toilet just to get away from people for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I guess you could do that, but people need. There's
Right.
only one bathroom
Right.
for everybody, so unless you're in the, in the.
HOH room.
The HOH
I'm
room.
sorry, I already forgot, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, HOH room. Yeah, upstairs, and it's so funny because the HOH room was. Uh, I guess it was designed different when you guys were on, but it was like it looked like an
Yeah.
inside of an igloo, like it was really cold, but the room was really
Oh.
hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
No,
so warm in there and muggy. And there's and the other problem was too going into before we got into Big Brother, we had to do 8 days of
Sequester.
sequester.
because of the COVID. Yeah, we had to do that. So we're in hotel rooms
Yeah.
alone already. So that was already an added week before we went in there. So just coming on was like, oh yeah, you had this rush of adrenaline getting on the show. Uh, and then but it was yeah, so there was times that there was one time we had to there was like somebody may had tested positive for COVID. So when that happened, we all had to go into the HOH room and they had to clean out the rest of the place. And it got so hot in there. We were in there for like 3 hours, the entire cast.
Yeah,
We've been,
While they're
trust me, we've
cleaning
been
it
in that
out.
situation for sure. What
Yeah.
we know you didn't get a vote, but obviously you were there on finale night. A lot of backlash.
Right.
And you were watching this from the outside with us, most of it. But what did you think? Obviously, Misha gets the W, but you had Todrick and Misha in the final two. A lot of backlash towards them with the jury votes. The jury themselves very upset. What was your take on that? Because you are, like you have already said, you're kind of someone who doesn't get into the drama, but just from an outside perspective, not only as a house guest who was in there, but also as a spectator watching from home, and then you being on the stage with these guys. What was your take on it? Like, what did you think about some of the things that were being thrown around as far as Todrick and Misha? Because let's be honest, then jury members, they came at him pretty hard.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I knew Misha was probably going to be the winner. I knew it was going to probably come down to those two. I said it to them actually, like right before I left. I said, I think it's going to come down to you two, both you guys. That's what I think is going to happen. But I do remember that, that, what was it? That there was, yeah, I guess there was some. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When I went back home, when I started watching the show, because I was so wanting to know what was going on because they were my friends, and I was just there. I could not believe uh, what was going on. I had no idea that people were having these conversations. Like Mariah was like, "Wait a second." So when I had that conversation to her, she went into the other room and started talking about, it's so surreal. I was like, I had no idea, and in a way, I was like, I guess glad that I wasn't part of that, you know. But in the ending, you were saying came back, and I came back because I want to say hi to everyone, and and stuff, and but I guess the decision. So you think there was an uproar? Is that what you're saying?
Let's run through it. Like Todd specifically calling out Todrick. Like he was basically saying like they took Todrick and they were accused of essentially Todrick and Misha being personal, making personal attacks on people, not keeping it game specific. And you could tell that people like Todd were very hurt by that. Shayna was very hurt by that. Even Chris was very hurt by it because Todrick had said some things about his son and his son was going to be upset with him. So, you being someone who's kind of more diplomatic and kind of doesn't get into that, I'm interested to hear your opinion because I know you weren't upset with them really, from what I understand. But it's just as someone who was in the house and then outside, I wonder how you perceived it because I'm sure it was probably a little awkward for you to even be up there when that's going back and forth.
Yeah, I sensed some really weird energy when I got there. It was very like, what is going on with this? And I like something was going on. Like Cynthia seemed very bummed out, and I was like, "What?" I mean, she didn't win, obviously. So that was like maybe she should have won. I don't know what was going on. And Todrick and like I was like, I missed something.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching it, but
intently,
not
like you weren't
as,
watching the feeds, doing a
there's
lot of the
obviously more
follow-up
to
stuff
it.
that was kind of getting out there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't watching the live feed as much. I was watching the show overall and stuff, but I was more interested in what was happening while I was on the
At least
show.
you're honest. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
once I was off.
Than the
a
rest
good
of the
point.
season. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I went to my girlfriend Maria, and I was like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
over it. I'm not on it. It's not as entertaining anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, it was still entertaining, but it wasn't quite as like fascinating.
Right.
It
I
wasn't
gotcha.
fascinating as it was. But I think yeah, it was weird to see what was gonna how it came down. I was just like, I thought that everybody in the end would like stick to it as friends, and like I kept saying like, hey, when we get out of here, let's all go to Mr. Chow's. And Cynthia was like, the winner pays. I said, sure, let's do that. And I said, like, at the end of the day, let's all like stick together and like all this stuff. And like, and I think a few of us. I mean, I talked to like I
Mhm.
text Carson today, and we're thinking of doing a project
Nice.
together. And like, I was like, well, yeah, that'd be a given. That'd be a fun thing to do. But everybody else I say hi to every so often to text wise and stuff. But yeah, I guess the personal attack stuff that is not. I mean,
Of
that's
course.
not cool
Yeah.
in general. That's not gaming.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not gamemanship. I mean, I can't say who was saying that. I mean, I guess Todrick was kind of being taking it. I mean, he really
Yeah.
wanted to win. Let's just
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
he
I could
did.
tell he was putting in it. He was putting in after hour works. Like every time there was a song playing, he would take Lamar out of bed to start
Yeah.
dancing. I was like, oh God, turn the music off. But that
Yeah.
was just me being silly. But I mean, he really wanted to win, and I think he was just wanting to win at all angles, and But I don't know. I didn't know if he said anything negative about me until Todd said something to me on set after the last episode. He said, like, yeah, he said, you have mental issues. And I said, well, I was probably going to have them if I
Mhm.
stuck around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I
No.
obviously don't.
People
But
get caught up.
whatever.
People definitely get caught
I
up
don't
in
know
there.
I don't know how negative he got. Yeah. I mean, it's
No.
not a healthy environment to be
It
in there
really
unless you're
isn't.
prepared.
It
I mean,
really
that's just
isn't.
the
It's
bottom line.
brutal.
It's just not. If you're a person that's got an open, vulnerable heart, and you are very open about yourself, and you really care about people, and you care about your someone else's sanity. I think that's what it was. I got concerned for Mariah in the beginning because she was really until I went out and saw that she was doing some gamemanship, but that nothing
No,
that I thought was
she was pretty honest. Yeah.
outstandingly
She was
mean or
very, very
anything. She was
honest.
just doing. She was like, yeah, she was honest, but she was very, very vulnerable about stuff, and she was sharing with me stuff that was like she was
Mhm.
really having a rough time in there, and she would say, "Oh, Chris, you're the only one that understands," and stuff like. I'm like, well, that may not. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I'm here for you, and I do know this is not the healthiest place for some people, and if you're one of those people that is always vulnerable, and it might not be the healthiest place. It's not a place, for a very light-hearted, fun,
Mhm.
open, wonderful person. That is
Right.
not into playing a
Yeah.
game of
You nailed it.
Yeah.
backstab
No,
and
you
that
100%.
nailed it. If you're,
level
it
stuff.
takes a certain type
You
of
know,
person to play the game. You do got to kind of check some of your morals and ethics at the door.
yeah,
But
yeah. You don't have to be a negative person. It doesn't mean you're
right.
not a nice. You know what I mean? Like, because they were all good people. Misha was great, and everybody was a good
Yeah.
person. And a wonderful person. And interestingly enough, a lot of the cast members have went through something in their lives that was somewhat traumatic. I think
Mhm.
like Lamar, of course, and or Todd. I didn't know was in prison. Like, oh yeah, that was right. When Todd was snoring, Mariah was like, "Don't wake him. He was in prison once." I was like, "Oh, wait, he's not gonna kill me. He's gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. I think he was in prison for something else anyway. Don't
Yeah,
worry about it."
he actually went to prison for attempted murder, or was it murder? I can't remember, but it was one of those two things.
What?
He was acquitted.
Okay,
He was
yeah, I
acquitted. He
didn't
was
know
He was
acquitted.
that.
acquitted.
I'm also really, yeah, I was not like super prepared. Like, I did not, again, I watched
Mhm.
Celebrity Big Brother season 2, and that's what I saw. And to me, I thought that was fun with some gamemanship, and, but there was like, I did not see, it wasn't that rough of an experience compared to
Yeah.
the other
Yeah,
seasons.
no.
So I was not as
No,
prepared,
it's an interesting thing. But speaking of
you know.
morals and ethics, we do got to touch on it because you're in a very unique position here. You're a comedian, you're an actor.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know Chris Rock, if you've ever met him, or Will Smith for that matter. But I'm assuming you've seen what's happened with the Oscars. The slap
You were
heard
at an
around the
after
world.
party, I know.
Everybody saw. Yeah, everybody saw it.
Yes,
Everybody's heard about it since. From your unique perspective, being
yes.
someone who's worn multiple hats in that world, what was your takeaway on it?
Well, I know Chris. Will, I've never met actually, but I admire them both a great deal. Have huge respect for both of them. They're both extremely talented, and Chris is a incredibly sweet guy, and from what I hear, Will is too. So, um, my take was that I think it's something. It's got, I don't know, Jada and Will and their relationship uh, was getting involved during the, if it's, I don't know what their
Mhm.
relationship's like at home, but I think it was good that he stood up for her. However, I don't
The
think
manner of
Chris
which he
deserved
did
that,
it, it's
and
like it's a little uneasy. You're at the Oscars. You know
yeah,
what I
the way
mean?
he Yeah, I think he could have. I think he could have done it in different ways. For sure. I think he could have went up there and said something like, "Hey, I want to hit you, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to, and I want to say something like that." But that's or he could have. You know, there's other things he could have, other
Oh, I
ways he
mean,
could have
yeah, I mean, it was
handled it.
assault. I
I think.
mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely assault. But
Uh,
from a comedian perspective, from a
yeah.
comedic look at it, do you think that Chris's joke crossed the line? Because here's my take on it. I'm not a comedian, but as someone who probably does, you do stand up, you go in there, you have a crowd in front of you. You don't know what everyone in life is
Right.
going through in the audience, right? You're going with your eyes. Now, you could be up on stage and look at me and go, "Hey,
Right.
Derrick, you're so pale," whatever, and I might have a skin condition that you're not aware of. But you're telling the joke from a place of
Right.
trying to be funny. You're not trying to make anyone feel bad. So there are some people that say the joke that Chris
Right.
made will cross the line because Jada has alopecia, but it appears Chris did not know that. So what's your take on that from a comedic
Yeah.
perspective?
Right, and I did hear that too, because once I saw that that event happen, uh, I was I was like, first of all, I was like, what did he say? What did he say? And I
Right.
went straight to Twitter and I was like looking to see what was said, and then the only one that was uncensored was an
Yeah.
Yeah.
Australian
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
version
I
of
got
it,
that
I
one right
guess, was the
away.
only one, and it was
Yeah.
getting millions and millions of hits. Like that was the one that
The
got,
uncensored one is like,
and but I did see him being
yeah.
the uncensored one. Yeah, that was the one I was watching, but I did watch it, and then I was like, GI Jane 2, that's not that
Yeah.
harsh because she shaved her head, I
Right.
guess, right? Is that what that means? And then I'm like, oh, and then on Twitter it said that she had alopecia. I'm like, oh, I see, because
Right.
I didn't know that. And I'm like, maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't know that.
I
Maybe
assumed
that's
he
the
didn't. I
situation
assumed he
because
didn't know that, or else he
if
probably wouldn't
he,
have made the joke.
yeah, I assume he probably doesn't know that. Like, why? Yeah, I don't think that's the style of doing that kind of thing. And does everyone
No,
know that she has alopecia? I don't
no,
think
I
so.
mean,
I never heard of that. But if she does, it's terrible that she does, or I'm sorry that she does, and
Mhm.
obviously that would be something that would be
Right.
incredibly offensive. That I understand, but again, I
Right.
wouldn't handle it in that manner, and it's very hard to go quickly for someone who's got the pressure of sitting there. He's about to possibly be the best actor, and to not react and go, maybe he doesn't know. I mean, there isn't much time to really. I mean, he
yeah,
just reacted,
yeah,
and
I
that
think
was it.
Jada
yeah.
gave him the
So,
reaction. I think Jada gave him the look
that's what
like,
he did.
you
You
better get
could do
up on
something.
that stage.
Well,
Better get
yeah,
up there
yeah,
and do
yeah.
something. Say something, do
It's like,
something. And he
yeah,
chose
yeah,
the
yeah.
action. He chose
Yeah, you
action.
do something. And you know what? If my wife or my girlfriend were like, hey, like if someone were gonna
Right.
say something bad about, like, say my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend's a bitch,
You
or
stick
say
up for
something
her.
or cross the line, I'd
That's
beat
right.
the
Yeah.
crap out of that person. Of course. I wouldn't, well, I wouldn't hurt the person that bad, but yeah, like, obviously
You stick up
Yeah,
for
hurt,
him.
or
Yeah,
you
you
know
stick
what I
up for
mean.
your
I do
woman.
I
something.
think
That's
it all.
exactly how it goes.
I would definitely stand
Hmm.
up for them at a certain level. It depends on what
Correct.
it was
Yeah,
about or what. But yeah, I would, it's all about respecting the
it is
woman
it
and
is,
the woman
it
you
is an
love.
interesting conversation to be
Absolutely.
had because I don't think if we look at it just as that joke, I don't think that's the joke that made Will
Yeah.
as upset as he was. There's videos going around now that happened earlier in the night where there was another comedian, one of the hosts, was picking out people in the audience for COVID tests, and she picked out all the really attractive guys. She was like, Bradley Cooper, Tyler Perry, and she said,
Right.
I wasn't going to pick Will, but apparently Jada signed off on that. So you know what? You get up here too, Will. And he didn't go out. He was like, nah, but
Right.
she was basically referring to
Oh
their open
yeah.
relationship. So I think that over the last couple of years,
Yeah. With Will.
Oh
couple
Yeah.
of years, Will and Jada, their whole family has been kind of the punchline for a lot of
Well,
people.
they're an open
And I think it
book.
got,
They
and I
have the
think,
right.
yeah,
roundtable.
I
yeah.
didn't know
And I
that
think it got
either.
to the
Yeah,
point
yeah,
where this
yeah.
was kind of like the
Mm.
final straw for Will. He's got so much pressure on him. He's about to accomplish something that many people, no
Yeah.
one had done at that point. And he's got all this pressure about wanting
Right.
to win. And I think that moment, it just became too much for him. And I love Will. Will Smith's one of my favorite actors of all time. So it's one of those things where it's tough to see because I love Chris Rock too.
Yeah, he's incredible.
So it's interesting. I hope they work it out.
I adore Chris Rock as a person. He's fantastic, and I gotta say, like, the way he
Yes.
handled it like a pro, big time, and as a comedian who is now a great
Yeah.
actor. If you ever watch Fargo,
Yes.
he's fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
he was so good in that season, and he
Switching gears real quick to on a more positive note. We have a lot of favorite movies. I can tell you right now, Corky Romano, Night of the Roxbury, 100% in my top 10 all-time funniest movies I've ever seen.
Really,
Up there,
it's
Dumb
like
and Dumber, all those movies.
wild.
But listen, we have you here, and I can tell you that as a normal guy who never thought I would have the opportunity to talk to you directly, it's surreal.
well,
What's your
thank you.
being honest, like watching these movies growing up, I never thought there'd be a chance where I'd be shooting the shit with you, talking about these movies with you. It's weird. But that said, not the fanboy.
Yeah.
You got to pick first. You got to settle. And you've been in a lot of movies, but these two specifically, what takes home the title if you can only make one? Corky Romano or Night at the Roxbury?
Oh, as a what? A viewer or my experience or something
Just
for you
not
guys to watch?
only filming it, but after seeing the final product, if one movie has to be erased from history,
Yeah.
which one are you more proud of? Which one do you think was funnier? All that good stuff.
Well, if those are the two that are
Only
the
of those
ones
two.
to choose, I guess. Well, it's weird because there are elements of Corky Romano that I like, and I think Corky is a smarter script in some ways with the family dynamic stuff, and some of the jokes are
Totally.
harder. But as a movie on its own, and for the music and its era, and standalone kind of film, because there's been other FBI infiltrating movies comedically after Corky Romano, which is interesting.
Not even close though.
But yeah, they're different. But I guess Roxbury, because it was kind of like
Because it's a classic. It's a
it's the
classic.
song, it's the bopping the head, it's you got phrases going on, and it's Will and it's
Yeah.
me together, and it's
Dude,
got
it's a
You
a great
killer
two,
cast,
combo.
I really
you
wanted to
know.
touch on that a little
So
bit because the both of you, and was it because you guys worked
like
on
even
SNL together?
Sorry to interrupt, even Jake
No.
Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland dressed up as the Roxbury guys
Well, Jim
at
Yeah,
Carrey too. You had a thing with Jim
yeah.
Carrey.
Oh, Jim Carrey. But Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland dressed up as the Roxbury guys at a Spider-Man
Yeah.
premiere.
no, it's cultural.
Yeah.
That Night of the Roxbury is timeless. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah,
carried over
100%.
generations after generations because
right,
it was just something different. It was like you said, the
right.
music, and obviously you and Will together, you had a chemistry because you worked with SNL together, right? Obviously, that's where the
Or were you
character
guys
Yeah.
like super
derived.
tight outside of that? Like, what was it
Oh
between you
yeah,
and
yeah,
Will?
yeah. I mean, we were buddies. We were temp workers when we were 20 years old. We were doing really crappy jobs in LA. We were in the Groundlings together. We did characters there. We did the Roxbury guys there on that stage before we did it on SNL, and so we had a friendship previous to that for years, and we were really tight. We're kind of,
That's
I guess,
awesome.
frickin' frack, as they
Yeah.
say it, or two partners in crime kind of thing.
You
And
guys still talk to
yeah,
each other?
oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
That's
Not
awesome.
all the time because he's got kids, and
Yeah.
which is fine. But yeah, we communicate and stuff. I think,
No.
and if there was to be a second one, I think it'd be fun. I think people would like to see that. I think if we did a second one, should be a third guy. It'd be fun to do it like Will, me, and Jim Carrey or something.
Oh
I
my
think
It's
that'd
gotta
God,
be pretty
be
yes.
cool.
it's gotta be like your kids. Like what would Doug and Steve Butabi's kids be like?
Oh,
my
exactly.
God.
Like what? I would, yeah. Like I guess he's probably married to Molly Shannon's character,
Yes.
and then I'm just getting out of prison, or I don't. Who knows what happened to my character?
Well, you're
I don't
probably
know.
still right. You're still right. You're still running the club. You're still running the club,
Yes.
hitting
Like
on the
not letting
Inside
it
Outside
go.
Club.
yeah,
Sure.
the
Yes.
outside club. You're still running
Right.
the club.
Right.
Oh man.
Probably. I mean, and those characters, like the quirky thing, is the silly character, but the Roxbury guys are not. They weren't really. I mean, the sketch. We weren't really human. We weren't really. We're really big characters. I mean, very slapstick and very
Oh, it's
broad.
amazing.
So to make them kind of human was kind of like a bit of a challenge. But we just ended up having good chemistry, and through Lauren's guidance and the talent of the people behind it, Steve Corrin, who wrote it with us.
Mhm.
You know, that was a screenplay that Will and I wrote together too, with this guy Steve Corrin, who's a great writer, and it was the first thing we ever wrote that wasn't a sketch. Like, here's a screenplay, and
Mhm.
just write
You
it,
guys
and it
killed
was
it. So
amazing.
it was
glad
a
you
lot of
guys
fun.
teamed up.
You have
So glad you guys teamed up.
Thanks. Yeah.
Chris, final thoughts. Anything, what's going on in your life? What project, what can you tell us? What can the fans hear about? What project, where they find you on social media, where they can see what you're doing now? How can they keep up with you?
Well, I mean, the easiest way to go directly is my Instagram, which is at Chris Kattan Official, or my Twitter at Chris Kattan. I'm doing some shorts and directing them and writing them and in them on YouTube on a show titled Hey Kattan. We just started that, and there's a couple of shorts in right now, and we're just starting that, and we'll see where that takes us. At some point, we're gonna put more effort into it, I think. So it'll become like these are going to be really good sketches, and we're going to
Mhm.
have really good, cool cast members. And right now, we're giving opportunities for really talented people out there in the
Mhm.
stand up and improv world to work with as well. But Hey Catan is the name of the show. It's on YouTube. I'm working on a special, like a stand up special, but with characters.
Cool.
So that's something I'm focusing on, and I'm writing a screenplay with my girlfriend, and those are the things I'm doing right now.
Good.
Great.
So
And
you're
there's other
busy.
things coming
You're
up too.
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
Cody,
my
any
I'm in
final
that
words?
place of creative and doing a lot of creating. And right now, I'm doing stand up touring as well. But I'm gonna use that touring to also, figure out the stuff I'm going to do for my special as well. But I've never taken on the
Absolutely.
special yet. I was going to do it a couple of years ago. Then I was like, I don't know if I'm ready yet. But now I'm almost ready to like just flat out write it and then make it happen and then have a special.
So you're out there touring, trying
Yeah.
out material, honing the craft, finding what works, what doesn't work, and then you're going to develop the special off of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
So
Right
Cody,
now,
any
I think
final words?
it's tentatively titled Chris Kattan. I used to be a spaz.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, here we are then. No, it's well, listen, if you come up to the Boston area, I'll be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in Boston.
When?
I will. I don't know when exactly. I think
if you're I thought you were saying you were coming up for stand up, but if you're coming up to Boston,
no, I am.
I will.
I'm gonna be up
I'll send my information to your rep, and I'll definitely come out and check out the show.
Yeah, I will be there. I love Boston. Boston's the best, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you ever make a trip to the Jersey Shore down in Dirty Jersey? You got your boy your way.
I love to go down to Dirty Jersey.
There.
Yeah. I love it.
So listen, we appreciate you, Chris, coming
really
on.
do.
Cody, any final words?
No, thank you so much, guys. Find him on Chris Kattan Official on Instagram, Chris Kattan on Twitter, and Hey Kattan on YouTube. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Very easy to find, to just follow along and keep up with anything he's doing. We love this guy. And so, Chris, any way that we can help or help you promote it, we will absolutely be doing in the future. So we love having you part of the Big Brother family.
No, we appreciate it. Chris, thank you.
Man.
It's my absolute honor and privilege to welcome you to the winner's circle, Chris Kattan. We appreciate you joining us, guys. We appreciate you joining us as well. We will see you next week.